Hi, everyone. Welcome to this second part on transitioning from Panotour Pro to Pano2VR Pro, presented by Thomas Bredenfeld. And I'm Karen. I'm from Gnome, and I'll be moderating today. And I think a lot of you joined us in the first part. For those of you who are just joining us for the first time, let me just let you know that Thomas is a really well-known professional panorama photographer, and he's a well-known trainer. And he's also really well-known or really well-versed in both Panotour Pro and Pano2VR. So he's the perfect person to give this webinar. So today's webinar is going to take about an hour, and it will be in English. And if you have a quick question during the presentation, go ahead and ask it in the chat tab. But otherwise, please use the Q&A tab, and Thomas will go over those questions at the end. And we're recording the webinar, so you can always come back and watch the video later. And I think that's it for me for introductions. Take it away, Thomas, and I'll see you guys at the end.
Yeah, hello again. Yes, I like to continue with the webinar from last Thursday, and pretty much starting there where where I ended. And I want to give you a sketch in these two webinar parts about how to make a transition from Panotour Pro to Pano2VR, and to give you an idea what's coming up when you decide to change and to rebuild your old Panotour Pro projects to a Pano2VR project, and to get an idea for the about the concepts, the different concepts or the similar concepts both programs have to deal with virtual tours. What I'm showing here is a project I set up in Panotour Pro with more or less the most important features Panotour Pro has to offer to design and to construct virtual tours, with working in groups, with an outdoor group of panoramas and an indoor group of panoramas, and with hotspots, video hotspots, and image hotspots I covered in the last session. I will just insert here a short remark. There was a hotspot here with a YouTube video showing up in this panorama. I added it with a Vimeo video, and I ran into some issues. And in fact, it was a little bug preventing it from being imported properly into Pano2VR. In between, with version 6.1.6, it is fixed. And now point hotspots with opening videos from YouTube or from Vimeo are now working out of the box in Pano2VR after importing the project. Said that, I like to change to Pano2VR, and now I'm covering some features you are used to in Panotour Pro, and you want to rebuild, or you want to find an equivalent in Pano2VR. I added a menu here in the as a panorama combo box. This combo box is showing kind of drop-down menu. I just show it. I hope it works here. And this style here, and you have all the panoramas directly accessible from a drop-down menu. And in Panotour Pro, you can set up it like that. You have the groups as headers, and then the panoramas belonging to the groups as submenu points. And I try to rebuild this with the stuff you can get in Pano2VR. So let's change back here and try to build this in Pano2VR. So the the tour is the same as I left it when the last webinar session ended, and now let's change to the skin editor, and I'm using the out-of-the-box skin editor, the skin simplex version 6. The first stuff I nearly always do is I save it, and now for test purposes I just throw it into my I think it's an import 2, and I'm using it here on Salmon Opera. So that is my project, and now it's, if I close it, it's added here with $D. So this skin is now working exclusively for my project, and it's not living in the main template folder. You can save it to there, but usually I'm separating if I'm doing some tweaks when I start with a out-of-the-box skin, then I'm usually rename it and save it along with my project, and then it's living with $D. It's a working directory, and then I can play around with it without destroying the master templates. So let's open it again. This is a reminder not to modify these master skins to destroy nothing. So usually I delete this, and the first look you should have when you need to add components which are not living in this, which are not in the pre-made skin here. The first place you have to look, or you should look, is the component toolbox, and the components are a little bit comparable to the plugins you have here on the right side in Panotour Pro. And here we have a lot of stuff with some little preview icons, and you can have a description text here what this stuff is doing and who made it and so on. And you can have a lot of them, and mainly the most of them are additional functions and additional elements belonging to the two main skin designs, and you can filter it. You see here the silhouette map, and here's some stuff for the simplex skin, which are the both main factory skins. You can filter this here by the keywords, and if I want to restrict the selection to only to simplex style elements, I just filter it. And here is an element which introduces a drop-down menu. Here's a little preview, and let's try what this thing is doing. Right mouse button, insert component to skin, or just use a double click. Close it, and you can. What I need to add is you can make your own categories here, and you can add these components. These are little files. You can add them here from outside, or you can move them between different projects or download them. And I think maybe in the future these components will be more a little bit or getting a little bit like the plugin third-party market you have now for Panotour Pro. With this drop-down menu, you can place it like any other element. I think I put it in the upper left with a little bit distance to the corner, and now you can work with placeholders here. These are built in and prefabricated, and let's have a look how such a drop-down menu is working. As Panotour Pro lets you always look under the hood, and there are no hidden secrets, and you can see which every element, you can see how it's done, what it's doing, where are the things happening, and you have a title box, and the dollar UT is the user title. This is the title you give. Let's have a look at the main program, and here are the user data, and this is the user title. A main concept in Pano2VR is that you have for nearly every stuff you can manually enter here or which are present at other places, and where you enter stuff, nearly all fields have placeholders, and they are working kind of variables. And if you want to have the title of a panorama, it is $, and then in brackets UT, user data title. This is user data description, and so on and so on. There's a list of placeholders in the documentation, and let's have this. This is $alt, the altitude. If you have a mountain, for example, $lat, $lang, and all these parameters here are available throughout the project as placeholders. And if you going back to the skin editor, $user title is showing the current panorama's title, and if you go a little bit further down here, you have two arrows. One is visible when the menu can be closed, when the menu can be opened. Here's the title itself. It's a text field with a placeholder. You just enter it here, and here you see a list of all these placeholders. They are you don't need to write them by hand. They are visible. They are available with drop-down menus along with variables. I will come to them later. Below the title box, you have a drop-down, and you have a scrolling area. This area with a scroll bar, just doing that what it's labeled, and then you have a cloner. The cloner is a very versatile. It is a very versatile element, just copying all stuff what's inside or is a child element, as long as the data which you provide to this cloner is available. And if you just add this, usually this works with nodes. So this list, sorry, this list does nothing else than list all nodes, and on the text field here there is an action opening the panorama, and with another action closing the drop-down menu. So let's see it in action. Talking enough, and let's save it. And I'm going the short way from here. When you are in the skin editor, most people in the beginning, they close the skin editor, then they go to the cogwheel, play out the project, and let it open. And there's a shortcut for it. I show you soon. And now we have here all these panoramas in a list, and there's a little checkbox showing you which one you have already visited, and here you have a navigation element as a drop-down menu. Now you can style this to your liking, and making it a little bit wider or so on, or making the scroll area a little bit bigger, so we have a little bit more panoramas, and the download background. So let's doing it this style, and now usually you save it, and then there's a shortcut. It's very nice. You can just create from here, create the output without changing to the main program. It is option on Mac it's Command Alt G, and on Windows is now it's already reloaded in the browser, so it's a little bit wider now and a little bit longer. So this is the node cloner, and in a very basic function, just making one drop-down menu, and you can change this style or use these drop-downs and this cloner element for some more sophisticated structures. And I prepared, I don't want to go to all steps, and I'm just delete it here. And I think I should enter my cursors and my other stuff here. So yes, we can see it a little bit better. So right click, left click, and here you have the command keys. So I just forgot to switch it on. It's more instructive for you to see this. In the component toolbox, I prepared some stuff under user defined, and I have a group menu. And I just want to go a bit quickly about the anatomy of such an element. And it is a little bit more close to this to the menu I showed in Panotour Pro. Here you have display all groups and panoramas. And you can only the groups or show all the panoramas or the current group with all included panoramas. And I did this one. And so you have two sections, indoor, outdoor. And now I try to mimic this in Pano2VR. And here I have a prepared structure here as insert component into skin, and it is a little bit it looks a little bit simpler as it hasn't so much elements as the menu I showed before. Just I want to show how it looks like. And so here you have two elements horizontally and with a drop-down menu with all elements belonging to the outdoor group of panoramas. This is a blue group I had in Panotour Pro, and this is the red group showing only the interior panoramas with the respective buttons, and you can click here. And how it's built. And this is, I think, for Panotour Pro, I think you can have third-party plugins doing this stuff. I think it's not working out of the box with the factory preset plugins, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know it exactly. And here we have the first node cloner. I have a menu container to get it all stuff together and to have only one element to be able to save it in the component toolbox. Create component from selection is the command for this. And I have a group menu, and the group menu is the first cloner. It clones only a text box, and it has a title. And this title is the title of the respective groups. And if I go to text, here is this the title. And if I go to the cloner element, I see here two options. I can make the cloner horizontal. The first is horizontal, the second is vertical, and you can decide how many rows it has, or if it's vertical, how many columns it has, and you can decide whether it is working from nodes. This was the case with the first simple menu I showed before, and you can have a table. And a table, you can enter tags. And this is a very powerful concept in Pano2VR. There is nothing comparable in Panotour Pro. You can attach tags to panoramas. Let's get back to the main program. And we have here, and that is nice because this is already imported from Panotour Pro. In Panotour Pro, I have my groups. Let's go to the tour around the Vienna State Opera and Vienna State Opera interior. These are the titles of my groups I have in Panotour Pro. And when I'm going back to Pano2VR, these group names are imported as tags. And you can add a tag to every panorama, complete as much as you like. As you can add colors to them, and you see these around the operas are the yellow ones, or let's make it like the colors similar to the colors in Panotour Pro. And you have the indoor. You can add a color to let's say pink. It's close to the red we had, and so we can see we have two different tags spread over all the panoramas. And these tags can be used to distinguish some panoramas from others, to distinguish indoor from outdoor, first floor from second floor from ground floor. This is the most frequent use case is to assign floors and switching floor plans with these tags. These tags are available throughout the skin. and you can use them with so-called logic blocks. These are these little arrows here. We'll come back to this later, to switch between different elements, to hide them, to show them, or to move them out of the way when when a certain panorama or a certain group of panoramas is showing up. And here we have, if you go here, you can select these tags or enter some arbitrary text here. And this is a title I'm giving. This is the original tag. And these two tags are determining how many elements this cloner menu has. And it is the master for the next child element. This is a group item, and the group item is first is the title. That is exactly that what I see, what I getting here from this table, and a child item from this is the next cloner, and the next cloner is working on nodes. And there's one little but powerful checkbox. Here you see it's vertical and it has one column. And here you have a little checkbox, inherit filter text from parent cloner. That means if this cloner, if this element, the first element gives you the outdoor tag. So this child element only works with the outdoor panoramas. In the second place, the menu gives the child the order, okay, filter these panoramas with the indoor tags, and that's all. And here we have a pano item. This is with user data title. We have it already. We had it already, and you have a little background. This background has one very useful purpose. It is a little bit bigger than the text field, and all of this is invisible. It's only a rectangle, and with no border and no background, and it guarantees that this catches all mouse over events along down to the last element. Otherwise, it would disappear after the first element. It's a little bit interactive tweaking, and that is the way it works. And with these structures, you can construct nearly arbitrary menus or drop-down structures. And if you can insert arbitrary elements, you can do a drop-down with images, a menu with images, and or you have a text box and the image is on the side and only visible on rollover, and so on. There's the sky's the limit, and you can do nearly every interactive stuff inside of these cloner elements. And always and the main menu is arranged around the number of your tags you select in the table, and the submenu is arranged around the number of panoramas matching these tags. And it is a short view into the mechanics behind the tags and what you can do with them. So we have, I think, 23. So I need to a little bit speed up to get my stuff done here. The next very big thing to do is, how can I get the maps I have here in Panotour Pro into Pano2VR. We have a Google map showing the nodes, the outdoor nodes, and we have in the interior group, we have a floor plan showing the opera and the nodes indoor. So how can we transfer this to Pano2VR? This feature, the same as with the menu I showed before, these menu structure, these navigation elements like menus or combo boxes, or like this floor plan or Google Maps or everything else, these are made so completely different, with a completely different concept in Panotour Pro and in Pano2VR, that it cannot be imported. So this is a point where you definitely need to rebuild your structures. But you can not only rebuild it, you can upgrade it. You can do a lot more with maps and floor plans in Pano2VR as you can do in Panotour Pro. So let's dive in here and let's get our hands dirty to check how this is working. First, you need a tour map. The tour map, there is a standard kit. It is World Map Topo. It is in fact OpenStreetMap. And a world map and world map topo. Topo is more for with terrains. If you have some mountains, or it's pretty much the same here. If you go a little bit here, you see more the topography, and here you see the maps, so the streets and so on, and all the scenic sites. And these are in fact comparable to the map window you have in Panotour Pro. Then you have built-in Google Maps roadmap, satellite, the hybrid thingy, and terrain. And most of the time I'm using hybrid because the orientation and the detailed location of the panoramas is clearly visible, especially if you have a very small area to cover with your panoramas. So let's have the first map you have here. These are available out of the box. And you have as a counterpart of the map here, which is the same as the map here. You have the map element you want to show to your users. It is what it's done in the style tab. You have here Panotour Maps, and here we have OpenStreetMap as the map service provider, and we have a floor plan, which is an image, and this image is selected in the tour. So that is what we are having here. And if you go to the floor plan, this is the file we have. This file we need for Panotour Pro, for Panotour VR 2. So and if you go to Panotour VR, you need to create this counterpart to your design map. Let's call it design map. You need a counterpart in the skin, making the map for your users. I just hide it here to have a plain area here. I'm making it a little bit bigger because the screen is large enough to get to 800, 600. This size is nearly irrelevant. It's only the space it shows here. In fact, the map is the canvas is 100% height and width. When you embed it into the screen on iframe or everything else, or in your player, it's elastic. It's just a construction size here. So when we go the first, we can construct this map by hand, no problem, but it lasts a little bit longer. Let's look whether we have a ready-made element for it. And if you go to Simplex, we have here the filter to check the elements which are designed to add to the Simplex theme of the skin, and we have map Simplex. And this component will add some more stuff than only one element. And let's introduce it, and let's have a look what we get and what we can do with it. So we have a button. This is this little guy here. We have a screen tint. Let's make it invisible. It is just a blackish screen tint to open behind the map. If you open the map, then you have this button with some functions. I will come back to this later. And we have a map container, and it has a close button. It has a map container, which is doing nothing so far. We have a close button to close it, and we have a map pin as an extra element. So we can, here we see again, we have not ready-made plugins, which you can drag and drop from one side to another, and everything is completely contained in it and only configurable by the Style tab in Panotour Pro. But you have discrete elements. You can change the graphics here. You can change the wording and add images to this and so on. Everything is open to you. And we have now the map. And with the map, the first thing is you can add map styles. Maps and floor plans are generally the same in Pano2VR, which is a big advantage because you can style your pins for maps and floor plans in the same style. You can even locate your floor plans on maps. Maybe we have time enough at the end to show this. And here we have a map, and when you have the map, you need a map provider. These four are factory built in Google Maps hybrid, and to show up to make them show up, you need a Google API key. It's the same concept as you have in Panotour Pro as Google. As if you want to have a map from Google, you need an API key and an account, and you need to set up an account with billing data. Usually you won't be billed, but if you have a website with a Panotour, which very lot of traffic, you can pay some money. So let's look for an alternative. I just close it here and save it. And let's introduce an OpenStreetMap as a new fifth provider. These four here below the line are the factory presets. And now let's add a new map. And it is called map 01, and let's go to the properties, and you see map 01, and I will name it OSM for OpenStreetMap, and we give it a title, OpenStreetMap. So let's spell it correct. And the map provider is OpenStreetMap, and you can use Mapbox, and you can use custom styles with Google. Here, the Google Maps API key is also required. And you can style Google Maps in a very different way. I don't want to get in the details here. And you can add custom map providers. This is a really powerhouse because you can add an arbitrary WMTS provider with World Map Tile Service, and a lot of open data outlets, especially from governments and authorities, deliver these streams as open data for free, as it's paid by taxpayers, and in most countries it is free, or there's a very big amount, very big quotas on it, so you can use it over a year with a lot of gigapixels download and so on. Here you can define the maximum zoom level, and you need to do a little bit of research how to find these map providers, and here you have some of them, and but it's worthwhile if you have some special needs for your map. Let's stick with OpenStreetMap, and now after I added this fifth available map type in the main window, I can go back to the skin editor and choose it as a map provider here. And let's check to go to OSM, and you can use a different API. API is this is a map provider, and this is the outlet, the service you're using to display the map. Google has its own, it's the most known, but there is another, it's open source driven, it's Leaflet. Leaflet is a very popular map display engine. And Leaflet is open to everything. Leaflet can display a lot of different map providers I showed before, and it's free, and so you need no key, there's no quota, no limit, no payment. So let's stick with it. And as it's ready-made, these four elements here, you have here already this pin for the map defined. Clone as marker defines the pin is used. It's in the map. And let's have now a first look how this stuff is working. Needs a toggle map. This is this little button. You can integrate it into the controller here, showing up all these elements here. But I'm using most of the time. I'm separating it a little bit and putting it to a corner of the screen. Let's say it's right. So let's 10:10. And now let's see how this stuff is working, or whether this stuff is working. And let's have a look. Getting it here. Okay. So here's a button, and here's a map. And here we have all our custom pins, we have tooltips, and we have the OpenStreetMap provider, and it's designed this way that it's closed automatically if you select a node. And if you're going here, it shows up here. It's showing up the places indoor and outdoor. All nodes are now visible. This is the most easy. It's the most easy way to get a map here, and you can change your provider, as I said, to Google Satellite or Google Map style or Google Street Maps as you like. By the way, these are the video pop-ups directly imported from Panotour Pro. It's not working. It's a Vimeo trailer here, and this is YouTube. It's working out of the box, and the images too. I showed it last time, the last session. So now let's add the floor plan. Let's go a pretty easy way. Just I'm doing it more easy. I just copy the map and paste it into this container. I rename it with floor plan and put it here on this player. Now it's the same. It's OpenStreetMap working with leaflet. And now let's introduce a floor plan we need before in the main program. So let's go to tour map and now add floor plan. And the floor plan wants images. Is it? Okay, this one. This is it's a PNG, transparent, and it is roughly a floor plan from the Opera. And now let's add here a map ID floor plan 01, and it was Opera floor plan. So. And usually this is an image, and here you can georeference it and place this floor plan on a map. Maybe I have time to show it later. And now let's place our nodes here. You see here are no nodes placed on the map. If I go into the other map, everything is placed, including these interior nodes. And on a floor plan, nobody knows where it is lying, how big it is, what direction it has. So it is pretty much clear that there can be any nodes placed on it. So let's do a quick arrangement how these nodes are here located. Let's try here. It's a backstage. It's about here. This is a main stage. It is pretty much here. The imperial box is here. The festive staircase is here. And the auditorium is about here, row 6. And there are some connections now. We have here the north direction. So everything now it's here a little bit confused when I'm looking here to north. The pins are quite weird, but we don't care about this right now. What I now want to have is if I'm navigating to a panorama indoor, the floor plan should show up. And if I have a panorama outdoor, the map should show up. And now let's get back to the skin editor and attach the floor plan with the floor plan 01. So these are not shown here. It's only the floor plan icon you see. It's a little bit another wallpaper. Here it's a map and it's a floor plan, but it's the same size. It's 100%. It's fitting into this frame. And when I have the floor plan, I'm using now a simple floor plan. If I untick this box, you can have a floor plan which is very big and you can zoom in and out. And this floor plan has multi-resolution too. the same like Google has, or Google Maps has, or all the other map providers have. So you can use very, very large image files. They are working in multi-resolution too when you're using them here. But it's only a very limited area I want to cover with this floor plan, and so I have here this simple floor plan only showing this image. It's a little bit scaled down, and I use the same pins. And now let's have a look how it's looking like. It won't be very nice now, but we will change this. And if I'm going to the browser and I'm opening the map, I see the map on top, and there won't be any change. If I'm going inside, I will see the same. So let's make this floor plan dependent on the tag we have with our panoramas. So we can say if the tag of the panorama is outdoor, then make this map visible. Is it indoor? Make this plan visible. And that's pretty easy. Go to appearance and make the plan visible. You have this map that is a variable deciding whether the map itself is to be visible or not. And let's add another, and let's take a tag. With the tag can contain, and let's have a look at, I think I only need to check the word around, and then it should be visible, because my tag is, let's have a look at them, user data, and you have around the Vienna State Opera. Let's check whether it works. And the other is the word interior. I think it should work, as it is only asking not it is equal, but only it contains. And that should be enough. Otherwise, we need to introduce another tag. So let's have an around here. I think a bit of capital A, and okay. And this map is invisible by default. That's good. And this floor plan is invisible by default. Good. And so let's add here, and the tour tag contains interior. So I don't think it's case sensitive. I didn't try this. Okay. So now I hope the plan is showing up indoor, and the map is showing up outdoor. So let's have a look. Okay, nothing happens. Very nice. So let's close it here. Okay, so there is some, one error per session is normal. Okay, so we need to do this another way. I have my secret little input here, and we need you really need the whole wording. So let's do it. Another way, more simple. So explaining some additional stuff. I just do indoor, or here's outdoor, and let's have this tag, and we have an outdoor tag, and I'm doing here these, let's make it green, so it's green here. And what's nice now, if you need to tag a lot of panoramas very fast, you can go you can go here to the stamp tool, outdoor, tuck, and let's do this for let's stop it here, and the first is indoor, and add this tag, and let's have it the color orange, and use the stamp tool indoor, and you have here the tags indoor. So you can easily attach tags to the panoramas, even if you have a big amount of panoramas. So let's go back, and now you can make it a little bit simpler. The floor plan is the floor plan here needs to ask for indoor. It's a whole word. And here the floor plan needs to ask for outdoor. So save it, layout, and let's have a look. And now it's working, the map. And if I'm going here to the main stage indoor and I will now open the map, you get the ground floor. You get the floor plan. And if you go here, everything is working normal. Technically, the maps and the floor plans are working the same. So this is a short view into the floor plans, navigation elements, and to work with tags, which is an extremely powerful tool to structure your content. Even if you have very big and complex tours, you can get really a good structure with tags, and tags can be used for a lot of other stuff, for showing different types of hotspots and dependent on some panorama elements or some panorama states or on variables. You have variables you can use here. If you go to click to the area here, you have these variable list. These are prefabricated and you can get your own here, and the elements, these three variables are brought with the map elements, are introduced from the component toolbox. So the components can use their own variables and bring it with them when you insert them into the skin. So I think it's a good point. I think I'm pretty much done with what I'm wanted to show, and there's a lot of stuff you can do or you need to do if you want to really perfectly redo your Panotour project in Pano2VR. But the elements are not that complicated as they look like in the first time. If you once got a grip to this element tree here and how these single elements are working, then it's not that difficult to tailor all elements to your needs. So let's have a look at Q&As, I think. Oh, is it okay for you, Karen?
Yeah, I think it's great. We've got quite a few, so so you can go ahead and pick them off. And
yeah, okay. Yeah. Let's change to the Q&A. Let's first start with Gregorio. Is it possible to buy components for Pano2VR like plugins in Panotour Pro? Not yet. There is one guy, I think he's in Santiago de Chile at home. He's offering ready-made skins, mainly for real estate VR, but they're pretty much pretty elaborated and very good designed with a lot of graphics and Photoshop stuff. And I think this is the only commercial outlet I know so far. There are some components you can get in the Pano2VR forum. Martin is sometimes building some of them and for certain purposes, and yeah, I think this will be an upcoming market. I'm thinking about. So Luca, hi Luca. Is all this stuff responsive? How does it work with mobile devices? Yeah, let's have a short. I can explain it just with a very simple example. If you have the map here, the map is 100%, and here in this in this dimension, and if you want to have it responsive, you just add a logic block, go to player widths, and say, okay, let's say if it's smaller than 90 or something like that, you can here equal smaller, and then okay, then let's resize it to 8080, and you have a default value, and you can get all this stuff responsive, dependent on the player width, dependent on the player height, player aspect ratio, to get a grip to the landscape portrait changing with tablets and smartphones. You can check, is it a mobile device? Has it a touch functionality? So you can even get such difficult cases, which Microsoft Surface, which is partly a desktop computer, partly a touch device. And has a touch, is a gyroscope available for changing pan and tilt angles by moving the device? Is a gyro active? Is WebVR available? Is WebVR active? So to switch to other states, to remove interface elements if there's not enough space for them, and so on. With this stuff, you can pretty much do everything you can do with plain CSS and with JavaScript technologies you are using generally for detecting and manipulating your design by mobile devices and to check it. Nearly everything is possible with these parameters and logic blocks changing size, position, visibility, and so on. So does this program allow you to export to a similar HTML file that can be uploaded to a website to be viewed with a simple web link? Yes, of course. That is what I'm doing all the time when I show this to you. What we are seeing here is this HTML file. It is living in the here in the Explorer. You can see it here. Just right mouse click, open in Finder, and you see everything what is outputted here. This is the index.datei you are navigating to when you opening it in the browser. The XML file is transporting all the configuration data, panoramas, the angles, where are the hotspots, how is this named, and so on. The player is the player itself, what shows all this stuff to us. The skin is everything what is built in the skin editor. The images you see here, these are some of the preview images you use in the menu. You have the map tiles here, the floor plan, and you have this pop-up image, and you have the pin image. And what have you else? Here are the panorama content with all these image pyramids, cube faces, and the different zoom levels. And here we have with WebXR, we have the stuff we need for head-mounted displays and for cardboard views. That's all. And you upload this output folder completely to your web server when you're ready to go. Are there sometimes problems importing many panos for one project? I didn't notice any limit, I think. I easily throw 100 panoramas into Pano2VR. It's no problem. It needs its time. It needs its time, but it's working. If you get problems with a computer not that good. Okay. You saw this little insert here, and it's tested with 100,000 panoramas. And the question and one remark for Stefan B is if you want to keep it to a more manageable size, you can split it into subtours, and you can here, if you have, especially if you have a big building, for example, you can make the ground floor with 100 panoramas, and you make the first floor and the second floor with 100 panoramas, and you have 3 Pano2VR files. Then you take the ground floor project and add project, and for the second floor add project, and then you can combine them afterwards. And then you only need some linking stuff. KL asked, does the gyro option work with recent updates of Pano iPhone? I didn't have any issues. Usually Pano2VR is updated when there are some changes in the iOS. Thomas said it does. And and I don't have the newest iPhone and the newest iOS, so I didn't test it, but I hadn't problems so far with iOS with the gyroscope. So let's go to the main chat. Is there only greetings and if there is nothing else to discuss of.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to when you were adding the floor plan. And there, if you geolocate the floor plan first on the map, then the map pins will be already there. And
yeah,
this is
they should. They should. It was what is intended to show the floor plan first without, and if you go to the in Pano2VR and to show it first without. What you can do is with the floor plan, if you have the floor plan here selected, and you can go to properties. And I need to click into this window because otherwise it won't show up. And here you can anchor this floor plan to the geolocate mode, and there are already nodes a map on it. Want to these nodes to have your GPS location calculated from the map's GPS location? Say yes, and then you can locate the map here. And I can do it roughly with, I think it should be a double click. And here you have the Opera floor plan. And usually I do it a little bit more place. And then you can just move it around and scale it a little bit. It's not exactly this. The floor plan is from 1800 something, and the Opera was destroyed in the war, and the floor plan isn't exactly the same. So, but I think that should be okay for us. And if I now go to the map here, to the OpenStreetMap, it is placed on the map, and now all the pins are geolocated. So even if these indoor panoramas wouldn't have had GPS data, now they have it.
Yeah,
that's what you meant, I think, Karen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to, there was a question that came up early on from KL, and he had a really valid question, and I want to vocalize it. I answered it in text form, which won't get covered in the recorded version of the video or the webinar. KL asked, since Pano2VR is not a subscription base, how can you guarantee that Pano2VR won't shut down like Panotour Pro did? And my answer was, well, we're not going to sell our company, and we've had offers to be bought out, but we won't sell, mainly because of this. You never know what happens afterwards. And we've been around for 15 years already. And our current pricing model is still working for us. And we plan to be around for 15 years or more. Let's hope more and more and more. And the other point is that we're also panorama photographers and 360 media artists. We're working in video and photography, and it's really our passion to keep Pano2VR and even Object2VR running and keeping, make it better and better and better, because we're using it too. So I just wanted to make that clear, and because it's a complete valid question. I'm sure it's on everyone's minds. So thanks for bringing that up. And yeah, I think that's it from my end. I think I covered everything I wanted to touch back on. So
yeah, I don't see any other questions, so I think we are done for now. Huh?
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining us. And like I said, the video will be available for you to watch later. And come back and join us for another webinar if you're curious or you want to learn more. We're having webinars every Wednesday, and hopefully we'll have some more from Thomas too in the future. And yeah, it was great. It's great having you. Thanks a lot for doing this, Thomas.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I thank you also, everybody, for joining us. And if you have ideas or suggestions, what should be covered, and either Martin or I do it, I like to join the Pano2VR support team time by time. And if it's an interesting topic, or if it's or just for fun, just let us know in the usual channels, Facebook or the forum or direct mail, whatever you need. And yeah, would be nice to meet you again, and have a nice evening, and bye-bye.
Bye.